The Congress party has said it's deeply disappointed with the clean chit given to Prime Minister Narendra Modi in the 2002 Gujarat riots case. This is not just a clean chit given to him, it's a clean chit that has been upheld. What happened to Ehsan Jafri is a fundamental lapse of the state government, said Jairam Ramesh. The Congress today said it wasn't just deeply disappointed with the Supreme Court verdict that upheld the clean chit to then Chief Minister and current Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Supreme Court found Zakia Jafri's plea to probe a wider conspiracy angle without merit. The BJP says the entire conspiracy to malign the then Chief Minister and current Prime Minister Narendra Modi for close to 2 decades has collapsed. Is that the reason for the Congress party's disappointment? Our political bureau brings you a top story.
खुद कोर्ट और पुलिस दोनों ने कातिलों को रिप्लेस कर दिया.
Protest at Jantar Mantar in the national capital against the arrest of activist Teestacase, accused of embezzlement of funds in the Gujarat riots case. Top Congress party leaders at the protest hit out at the government for the arrest.
कांग्रेस पार्टी इस लड़ाई के अंदर पूरी तरीके से उन सभी ताकतों के साथ में है जो तीस्तासी तलवार जी के साथ में खड़े हैं और कांग्रेस पार्टी इस दमनकारी नीति के विरोध के अंदर श्रीमती सोनिया गांधी के नेतृत्व में हम सब लोग मिलकर के कांग्रेस पार्टी साथ में खड़ी है. जो लोग भी तीस्तासी तलवार के साथ खड़े हैं कांग्रेस पार्टी उनके साथ इस लड़ाई में साथ में खड़ी है.
The Congress has also expressed its deep disappointment at the Supreme Court verdict upholding the clean chit to then Chief Minister and the present Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi. Jairam Ramesh, Party General Secretary, asked if the responsibility of the violence was only with the Collector and the Deputy Commissioner of Police and not the political executive. What is the constitutional and moral responsibility of the Chief Minister and the state government in cases of large-scale communal riots? Asked Jairam Ramesh. The Congress went on to ask, why was then Prime Minister Vajpayee so affected by his lack of action that he had to publicly remind him to do his duty and follow the Raj Dharma? The Congress also asked why Supreme Court called out the conduct of the state government as that of modern-day Nero. The Supreme Court in its Friday verdict said, there is no evidence to support Zakia Jafri's plea, no tangible material to support the plea. No evidence that the riots were pre-planned. Disgruntled officers need to be in the dock. Devious strategy to keep pot boiling. The BJP has claimed that justice has finally been served and insisted that Zakia Jafri was wrongly tutored by vested interests, compromising some corrupt officials and NGOs targeting one individual.
सुप्रीम कोर्ट तो यहां तक भी गई ये कहने में कि तीस्ता सेतलवाद के एंटीसीडेंट्स को देखना होगा. जो व्यक्ति अपने आप को ह्यूमन राइट्स का एक्टिविस्ट कहता है वो किस प्रकार से एक विद्वेषपूर्ण भावना के तहत इस पूरे मामले को परसिक्यूट कर रहा था और जाकिया जाफरी जैसी पेटिशनर का इमोशनल एक्सप्लॉयटेशन अर्थात शोषण भी कर रहा था.
Despite the Supreme Court verdict upholding the clean chit to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, politics around the subject is clearly far from over. Bureau Report, India Today.
So what is the reason for the Congress party's deep disappointment? Is the aim justice for the victims of Gujarat riots or political targeting of Narendra Modi? Let's find out. Joining you on India First, Sanju Verma, spokesperson of the BJP. Sanjay Jha is the political analyst, former spokesperson of the Congress party. Advocate Aashutoshsrivastava joins us for a legal perspective on the story. Sanju Verma, the Congress party says it's deeply disappointed with the Supreme Court verdict, asking, is the political executive not responsible? And does the responsibility lie only with the senior superintendent of police or at the level of the district collector?
You know, Gaurav, let us be very clear. The Congress can, shout from every available rooftop. Jairam Ramesh and Ajay Makan can continue to wax eloquent at Jantar Mantar. The historic landmark judgment of June 24, 2002 by the Supreme Court should not be forgotten by anybody, least of all the Congress, the left parties and their ecosystem. Because don't forget that if there is one venerable institution in this country whose bona fides cannot be undermined, whose integrity cannot be questioned, it is the Supreme Court. And without being very verbose, I just want to say a couple of quick things, Gaurav, which you have already, been talking about during the course of the last few days. The Supreme Court clearly said there was no criminal conspiracy by Narendra Modi, point number one. Point number two, the Supreme Court said that the inaction by a few officials does not mean larger conspiracy. Point number three, the Supreme Court clearly said that the violence was not pre-planned. So this whole narrative that, there was a pogrom and ethnic cleansing in 2002 of Muslims, that narrative stands completely dismantled.
Okay.
Point number four, and the most important point is this, that the Supreme Court categorically not only upheld the indefatigable work done by the SIT despite challenging circumstances. Indefatigable, quote unquote, is the word used by Supreme Court. It actually came down heavily on the likes of Teesta Setalvad by saying, I quote again, Teesta Setalvad's antecedents need to be reckoned with, clearly motivated by her ulterior designs. She was found guilty of emotionally exploiting the sentiments of the appellant, Zakia Ehsan Jafri, in these circumstances.
So let's take this one by one. Ma'am, you've made a series of points. Your opening comment, unchallenged. Let me bring Sanjay Jha to respond to this. Sanjay Jha, the BJP accuses the Congress of trying to exploit riots for its political gains. What's the aim, sir? Justice for victims or targeting Narendra Modi?
Oh, very quick response, Gaurav. Thank you very much, and I'm glad you're doing this program because this is relevant for the entire country to watch and know some of the home truths because they're important. They're relevant because we are still a democracy somewhere. I hope so. Number one, I'm glad we are quoting the Supreme Court because I'm going to quote the Supreme Court as well. Obviously, not the same judges. They were this verdict or this statement was made a little earlier, where the Supreme Court said that in the Gujarat riots of 2002, it was a situation like a modern day Nero. That's what the Gujarat government was. And you know what a modern day Nero means? Nero fiddled while Rome burnt. It is a very serious accusation. And the Supreme Court was clearly insinuating towards we know whom. Number two, it's the same Supreme Court which removed those sensitive cases of Gujarat riots from Gujarat and transferred it to Maharashtra and other states. You know why? Because they did not trust the state administration of Mr. Modi because they believed that the witnesses would be intimidated or justice would not be given. What is that a manifestation of? Number three, Atal Bihari Vajpayee, the icon of the BJP, and I'll tell you what he said on record. This is from his biography. He was flying to Singapore and he tells his colleagues like Mr. Arun Shuri, "Main kis muh se wahan ja raha hoon? Why am I being taken there? How can I even face them because my face has been blackened?" This is even worse than the statement he made about Raj Dharma. And point number four, we can debate this even longer. I remember a very famous cabinet minister in Mr. Modi's cabinet today. I in fact remember asking her this on a TV show to Smriti Irani ji, that you threatened to go on a fast unto death if Mr. Modi did not resign, taking responsibility for the 2002 riots. Can you imagine that? Can we just turn a blind eye to all this?
Okay.
And let me
So 4 points made by Sanju Verma, 4 points made by you. I did not interrupt either. Ma'am, I'll just come to you in a second to respond to this, but let me bring in Advocate Aashutoshsrivastava. Advocate Srivastav, you have Sanju Verma quoting one verdict, you have Sanjay Jha talking about an earlier verdict. Now, as far as the citizens of this country are concerned, who do we believe, the current verdict or the earlier verdict?
See, when somebody is believing certain findings which were made by the Supreme Court or any other court previously, so obviously the same Supreme Court is to be believed now also when the Supreme Court has gone through the details of the case and has already scrutinized all the documents on record, witnesses' statements and everything on record. and thereafter, when the Supreme Court reached to a conclusion, I think that should be respected. That should be taken into whatever the Supreme Court has found out throughout its verdict and throughout the argument and the proceedings which would have taken place. Now, when you say that certain cases were transferred from one state to another, so this is the general process which has been ever followed in many of the cases. Like if we see Jayalalitha's matter, which was there in the Chennai, that was transferred to Bangalore in Karnataka. So that we have already seen. Just that there should not be any interference.
So the case was transferred from Gujarat to another state. When these investigations were being carried out between 2004 and 2014, it was your government or the Congress government in power. For 10 years, investigations were carried out. Prime Minister Narendra Modi or then Chief Minister Narendra Modi was interrogated and questioned in a Supreme Court monitored probe. If he was culpable, action should have been taken and would have been taken. Respond to the BJP saying that all of this was done. He wasn't found guilty. He was given a clean sheet. That clean sheet has been upheld, and yet the Congress wants to keep the pot boiling, milk Gujarat cases politically even today, despite the latest Supreme Court upholding an earlier verdict giving him a clean sheet, sir.
Gaurav, a very relevant and a pertinent question. Let me give you a very brief response, okay? The truth is that Gujarat 2002, like several other riots, Muzaffarnagar, 1984 riots, what happened after the Babri Masjid demolition is a black, dark stigma on India's social harmony track record. Point number two, Maya Kodnani, who later on got acquitted, but was, don't forget, she was sentenced to 28 years.
Sir, once she's already been acquitted. Ma'am, I'll come to you in just a moment. I just want him to respond on merits. I want him to respond on merits because the Supreme Court has been through everything. The Supreme Court monitored SIT has been through everything.
Let me answer. Let me answer, Gaurav.
Ma'am, it's not a monologue. I've asked him a question. He will respond and then I'll come to you.
Yeah, there was a, let me answer. This is a very serious issue. There's a loss of human life. It doesn't matter which community they belong to. They were Indians. Let's not look at them as Hindus and Muslims. They were Indians. And there were 1,400 officially dead. I don't know how much is the unofficial number. You had a prime minister, now a prime minister, then a chief minister, who was talking about hum paanch, hamare 25. It was combustible hate speech.
You will continue with all of that, sir. You will continue with all of that despite a Supreme Court verdict. Fair enough. Fair enough. Sanju Verma, Congress asked if there was no culpability. Why did the then Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee ask the then Chief Minister, to follow Raj Dharma?
You know, Gaurav, I am not surprised. I am rather amused that after the top court in India has given its verdict unconditionally, unequivocally, with no ifs or buts whatsoever in the favor of Narendra Modi, the Congress party is back to doing what it does best, whining in TV studios. I will just correct Sanjay Jha, and I challenge him to correct me. He has been getting away with this particular statement on debate after debate, but Gaurav, on your show, I'm quoting an article of Indiatoday dated September 2004. You know, Nero was fiddling while Rome was burning. This phrase was used by the Special Trial Court in 2004 in reference to the then first investigating officer K.K. Mysorwala, who was investigating the Naroda Patia massacre.
Kindly Google it, I'll show it to you.
Sir, one by one.
With reference to Narendra Modi. This was used by the Special Trial Court with reference to the first investigating officer of the Naroda Patia massacre, a man called K.K. Mysorwala. So Sanjay Jha, stop Googling and stop coming and quoting irrelevant references which are malafide.
Excuse me.
Stop quoting malafide references.
I'm exposing your fake news.
Now, Gaurav, may I?
I'm busting the fake
Okay,
news.
one by one. Sanjay Jha, I did not let Sanju Verma interrupt you, and I would request you not to interrupt her. One by one. Sir, let her finish her point, then you make your point.
Sure.
So the main point is this. Nero was fiddling while Rome was burning was never used with reference to Narendra Modi. It was used with reference to K.K. Mysorwala, a police officer who was investigating the Naroda Patia massacre. So Congress spokespersons should read up and come do some basic homework. Gaurav, the most important point is
Give me a chance to respond,
the
Gaurav.
fact that Narendra Modi has been given a clean sheet does not come as a surprise. He was given a clean sheet by the trial court, by the Metropolitan Magistrate, by the Gujarat High Court, by the Supreme Court on two earlier occasions prior to even 24th June 2022. What you and me need to debate that an entire ecosystem has been exposed of leftist media, leftist academia, the likes of Rana Ayub, who keep ranking
no names of individuals are not there to defend themselves. Madam, my only request to you is...
Let me make a final point.
Quick response,
quick 30 seconds. Sir.
My final point.
Yes.
Gaurav, my final point. Gaurav, I just want to ask one thing. Today the Congress did, a protest march at Jantar Mantar supporting teestacase. Now, who are the people who've spoken out against teesta? They are people who were once upon a time were close confidants. Rais Khan Pathan, Yasmin Bano's sister-in-law Zahira Sheikh, who clearly said that teesta was tutoring her. Suddenly, from Zahira Sheikh's words being gospel truth, when she went against teesta suddenly completely dismissed Zahira Sheikh as being a vicious liar. Then, let me tell you what Dr. J.S. Kanoria said.
Okay.
For years together, we heard that a lady called Kausar Banu, she was 8 months pregnant, her womb had been ripped apart.
Okay.
J.S. Kanoria, in a testimony to the Supreme Court via an affidavit in 2010, said the woman was not raped, the body was not mutilated, her womb was not ripped apart. So, Teesta Setalwad has been peddling
fair enough.
Vicious
Gaurav, can I come in now?
Yes,
please.
Sanjay Jha,
people
please
like
come in.
Sanjay Jha, who is a suspended leader,
Okay.
keep swallowing all these...
Gaurav, when you give me permission, I will
personal
come in. I
attacks.
don't
No
want to get
personal
into a
attacks on my
slugfest
guest,
here.
please. Ma'am, no personal attacks on my guest. Sanjay Jha is a respected guest on my show. Mr.
Yes,
Jha.
he's a suspended leader.
Okay, Mr.
He's a
Jha. Okay, ma'am, please hold.
suspended leader.
Mr. Jha, please respond. I don't want to see what other newspapers or magazines may have written, so I'd rather go by what for me, what you say is important and not what may appear in other places. But the fact remains, Mr. Jha, there was a whole lot of stuff that was said in those on those 20 years. The Supreme Court's been through everything, and they've said this is the truth, and the truth is Narendra Modi's clean sheet has been upheld. Uske baad bhi is mudde par rajniti kyun? You know that point about that woman's womb, the fetus being taken out, for year after year us par rajniti hoti rahi, whereas the report says that never happened.
Well, can I tell the viewers of your show, because your program is a big hit, they should just Google a gentleman by the name of Babu Bajrangi from the Bajrang Dal. And I will tell you something, you will not sleep for 6 months.
Sir, Supreme Court did not know about Babu Bajrangi. Supreme
Babu
Court did not
Bajrangi
know.
was convicted.
Supreme Court,
Babu
Supreme
Bajrangi
Court
was
did not know.
convicted like Maya Kodnani.
You know,
and
so,
I want to tell you this. The truth is that we should... okay, I'm going to throw an open challenge, Gaurav, on your show. I'm throwing an open challenge. I want to tell you with responsibility on your show, Gaurav, that I
one by one,
apologize.
Ma'am, please let Mr. Jha, ma'am.
Can I
My
speak
request
without
is
this,
please let Mr. Jha complete his point, ma'am. No, okay, no personal attacks, only Mr. Jha. Ma'am, please let him complete his point. I have to go to Mr. Srivastava also.
The national spokesperson of the BJP. Narendra Modi has been vindicated. Period.
Okay, point made, ma'am. Mr. Jha, please respond.
Narendra Modi has been given a
just to cut
clean
the long story short.
Go on, sir.
Just to cut the long story short, Gaurav, we should all be ashamed of both 1984, 2002, Muzaffarnagar, Delhi riots, everything. I want to apologize for what happened in 1984.
Sure,
on behalf
sir,
of the Congress
that
Party.
point taken. I'm on the simple
the
point
BJP.
of the
I want to
repeated
challenge
targeting
Raju for
of
apologizing
Narendra
for
Modi after
2002.
Supreme Court
Which you
upholds a clean
apologize for
sheet to him.
2002.
Okay.
Which you apologize for 2002. I apologize for 1984.
But
this
I
is what
think the
India,
Prime Minister's response,
all
the
of us.
Prime Minister has responded to this. He said, why apologize if I'm guilty? Hang me. and the Supreme Court has upheld a clean chit to him. So apology क्या करना अभी? Sir, facts पे argue करते हैं ना sir. India first ना sir.
You are the chief minister of a state where 1,500 people are dead.
Sir, the
and
official
you have no
figure
moral
is different, but let me take this to
You have no
Aashutoshsrivastava.
legal
He's patiently been hearing both of you. Aashutoshsrivastava, the bench headed by Justice A.M. Khanwilkar, said that the material collected during the investigation does not give rise to strong or grave suspicion regarding the hatching of a larger criminal conspiracy at the highest level. Sir, does that address the issue decisively? As an officer of the court, your appreciation of the verdict?
See, absolutely. See, when you are alleging any minister or the Prime Minister, there has to be some concrete evidence. There has to be something which should be very much, which can be understood, that can be felt, and there has to be some sort of clear evidences and witnesses to prove what you are stating in the court. Now, Supreme Court has not changed or altered the previous verdicts being given by the trial court or by the High Court. So it is the same kind of a verdict which has come out. Now, after all the opportunities which were given to the petitioner to prove her case, these all materials, whatever being discussed today in the debate, I'm sure all things would have come in the eyes of the Supreme Court before deciding such a matter. And accordingly, the Supreme Court reached to a conclusion. See, when in 2012, when this government was also not in power, and that time too the SIT, the investigating agency, had given a clear chit to Mr. Modi that nothing was found out against him during the course of investigation. And accordingly, the court was inclined to acquit him from all such charges.
I have the last 30 seconds on the broadcast. Sanjay Jha, Mr. Srivastava makes a valid point. It was the Congress government in power when investigations were carried out. It was the Congress government in power when the clean chit was given to Narendra Modi. He was a chief minister, and the BJP was in opposition. The Supreme Court has clearly said the material collected does not give rise to suspicion regarding the hatching of a larger conspiracy. So the same thing being repeated again and again by Congress. Is this being done to keep the issue alive politically, to use it as, to reach out to the Muslim vote bank?
Gaurav, let me tell you that the Gujarat 2002 riots, or what I believe is a state-sponsored genocide, is a mammoth shame for us as a country. I just want to make one statement.
Sir, you're saying what you believe versus what the Supreme Court of India concludes after due deliberation. I'm sorry I've run out of time on this part of the show. We will track the story very, very closely. It is a heated issue. I'll come back to this in the days and weeks ahead.